9:30 Eastern. Right now, Colin tells you why the Rockets can't get out of their own way. The herd starts right now.
Undisputed.
Here we are on a Tuesday, absolutely loaded. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Live in Los Angeles, we're on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me. In 1 hour, Joy, all the coaching hires in the NFL are done. All the free agency is done. All the drafting is done. I'm going to go with my herd hierarchy, the 10 best teams in the league today.
Ooh, 10 best on paper?
10 best on paper today. The teams I think are the 10 best on paper. A couple of omissions that won't land well. And a couple of teams inserted that I think are going to be huge surprise teams.
So beware Twitter.
Beware. Twitter and Cleveland and whatever. It's great to have you in.
Good morning.
I thought this was... Years ago, Phil Jackson would tweak the NBA refs. Lakers coach Phil Jackson, Bulls coach, he would tweak the refs. And the NBA would often fine him. Don't talk about refs during a series trying to manipulate the series. Well, the Rockets did that and then some. The Rockets tabulated the net result of 81 potential missed calls and non-calls in Game 7 of the series between the Rockets and Golden State, and they leaked it to the media, and it was obtained by the place I used to work. The Rockets had a full report listing 81 blown calls that cost the Rockets 18.5 points, 18.6. They went full analytics nerd. The Rockets also argue that veteran officials exhibit the most bias against our players. Oh, God, this is a backfire move. This is intentional and a timely leak to influence the refs tonight. By the way, I just want to know, all you geniuses in Houston, in that analytics report, did you have the part where you went 0 for 27 on threes in that game? What was that in the report? Remember that? You had that stretch in that game. You were 0 for 27 on threes. Was that included in the report? Oh, that was an omission. So let's blame it on the veteran officials. As I said yesterday, veteran officials don't fall for this BS. They don't fall for this hardened, flopping soccer stuff. I'm the NBA. I hand out a huge fine to the Houston Rockets. This is not tweaking the NBA. This is trying to embarrass the NBA. They went full analytics nerd here, and I don't think it's going to work. And you know what they say about karma? Karma is a you-know-what? Scott Foster is refereeing the game tonight. Scott Foster has a long-running feud with James Harden and Chris Paul. The Rockets are 0-6 in the last 6 games. Scott Foster has officiated. Now, maybe the Rockets, they knew he was officiating tonight because that's assigned a while back, and they thought, let's get ahead of it. But I think this comes across as they're trying to embarrass the NBA. I think it's a terrible look, and I think Adam Silver should fine them. Listen, let's be honest about this. The Rockets' formula to get to the championship was more calls and more free throws. This is where analytics fails. This is where analytics fails. Here's what analytics does not tell you. That the NHL, the NFL, and the NBA do not want calls, free throws, and penalties deciding Super Bowls. So in all those sports, NBA, NFL, and NHL, refs swallow their whistles in the playoffs. And the further it goes in the playoffs, NFC Championship, ask the Saints, ask the Rockets last year. The further playoffs go, the more viewers, the more the games mean, the more hockey, football, and basketball officials get out of the way. Analytics. Did analytics tell you that, Houston? What the NBA doesn't want is what the NFL faced years ago, where Joy and I would come on the air this fall, and when we talked about big games, we just talked about games. But a year earlier, I would come on my show and talk about catch, no catch. And Roger Goodell came on my show and said, we don't want every game. We're literally talking about the interpretation of rules. We want you to celebrate the NFL. We want to have fun. Steve Kerr talked about this after game 1. All we're talking about is the officiating.
It's disappointing because the focus should be on two teams who played extremely hard. I mean, watching the tape, both teams just got after it and competed. But we just watched the tape upstairs. You don't think there were 10 calls that we thought we got fouled? I mean, this is how it goes.
Okay. Never forget this. I said this yesterday. Leagues have a right to their own interpretation and their own officiating territory. Houston's trying to manipulate officials. Never forget this. Remember this, Joy? A couple Super Bowls ago, Eagles, Patriots. All year, we complained about catch, no catch. And in the Super Bowl, the NFL did not tell the Eagles, did not tell the Patriots, did not tell Belichick, did not tell Doug Peterson, did not tell the teams. The NFL decided in that Super Bowl, common sense prevails. If it looks like a catch, it's a catch. They went against their own rule, and they gave nobody a heads up. And you know why they did? Because they're the league. And my boss can do what they want. And the NFL can do what they want. And the NBA can do what they want. And the NFL decided without giving anybody a heads up, we're not going to have the Super Bowl turn into a 7-day argument over the interpretation of a catch, no catch rule. And they knew they were going to change the rule, and they did a month later. And the NBA knows they're going to change this landing area rule. They know they're going to do it in the offseason. And they're not going to let these playoffs, and this is the finals, let's be honest. The Rockets-Warriors, probably the finals. I mean, I picked the Celtics to beat the Warriors, but this feels like the finals, right? They're not going to have this series dominated by, well, the interpretation of the landing rule. Common sense is going to prevail. And this is where analytics falls flat. I've told Daryl Morey this. I like analytics. I'm not anti-analytics. But I'm a big believer that you cannot reduce sports to numbers. These are humans. These are athletes. I'd pay money to watch Harden. I'd pay money to watch Westbrook. I want to pay money to watch Brady and LeBron. These are the world's greatest athletes we're watching. Let's not reduce them to a spreadsheet. Now, I think numbers matter. I think they matter. But the reality, the reason Brad Stevens and Kyrie get along better today than 2 months ago, because they talk, because they're human beings, not human doings, not numbers on a spreadsheet. Houston is trying to reduce this series to a spreadsheet. And the NBA's like, no, we're not doing that. And the NFL did this 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. They said, no. We're not going to have this game become a 6-day slog of guys like me and women like Joy coming on the air and complaining for 6 days about officials. We're not going to have it. And so the NFL didn't give anybody a heads up. They said, no, we're going to change things right now. And that's what the NBA is doing, and I applaud them. If you try to manipulate officials, and that's what Houston's doing here, leaking this memo, flopping, they're manipulating the referees. The league is saying, okay, we're going to take a little territory back, and we're not going to give you heads up. We're not going to release a memo. We have a right as a league to take a little bit of this territory back. By the way, Scott Foster's officiating the game tonight. Never forget what James Harden said in February about Scott Foster.
Scott Foster, man, he's I never really talk about officiating or anything like that, but just rude and arrogant. I mean, you aren't able to talk to him throughout the course of a game, and it's like, how do you build that relationship with officials? So, and it's not even that call. Like, it's just, who he is on that floor. It's pretty frustrating.
By the way, I don't want you to have a relationship with the officials. There's rules. You're a player. I don't want you to be able to curry favor, buddy up. I remember years ago hearing a story where a Major League Baseball umpire every year asked Barry Bonds for some autographed baseballs for his charity. I don't want that. I don't want you to have great relationships with the officials. I don't need them to be awful, but I don't want you currying favor with them. And it's not an official's job to, by the way, invite you to birthday parties. I'm Scott Foster. I'm a ref. I officiated in college to make money in intramurals. And the first thing I learned very quickly, don't smile, don't laugh, don't frown. Poker face, entire game. I wanted to be as robotic as I could. I didn't want anybody to think they made me mad, they made me happy, I had any influence. Because if I smile to Harden, that means the guy guarding Harden thinks I like Harden. When I officiated, and this was like 2 years of college, my whole thing was robotic. I wanted nobody to think there was any influence. That's what Scott Foster does. That's what veteran NBA officials do, mostly. They get out of the personality business. Ed Hockley and his gun show, I could do without. Dick Bavetta and his humor, I could do without. I don't want a lot of ego. I don't want to know your personality. I don't want you being friends with the players. Come in, make calls. Thanks for flying United.
Well, there's a reason there's no name on the back of their jersey.
Thank you.
And I can't think of a worse job for you.
I know. I had to be a robot.
That is not for you.
$8 a game at Eastern Washington. It paid for a lot of beers.
I mean, that's good pay.
$8. I'd do 3 games a night, $24.
That's a decent college job.
No, it's what you do. Divorced parents, guys got to eat. You ref for
It's
2
not the job
years.
for you. I can't see you holding a straight face for 2 minutes.
I was the Scott Foster. Nobody liked me because I wouldn't have any relationships with any of the guys. Because I'd see them on campus and they'd be like, hey, you're the ref of the... All right, so coming up next, again, I'm not into gimmicks. The process. I'm not into that. Sixers season is now alive, and they're in control of it because they ditched the process. That's coming up. All right, guys, close your eyes. Wait, not if you're driving. If you're listening to me on radio, do not close your eyes. But if you're on TV, close your eyes. Picture your current underwear. It's embarrassing. It's not good enough. The standards are not good enough. You're a handsome man. You've got abs. All right, maybe pudding. But the point being, don't you want to look better?